Chapter 1 Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. Text 1 Dhritarashtra Uvacha Dharmashetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Jujutsava Mameka Pandavaskaiva Kim Akurvata Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the pilgrimage of Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? Bhagavad Gita is a widely read theistic science summarized in the Gita Mahatma, glorification of the Gita. There it says that one should read Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. The example of clear understanding is there in the Bhagavad Gita itself. In the way the teaching is understood by Arjuna, who heard the Gita directly from the Lord, if someone is fortunate enough to understand the Bhagavad Gita in that line of disciplic succession without motivated interpretation, then he passes all studies of Vedic wisdom and all the scriptures of the world. One will find in the Bhagavad Gita all that it is contained in other scriptures, but the reader will also find things which are not to be found elsewhere. That is the specific standard of the Gita. It is the perfect theistic science because it is directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. The topics discussed by Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya as described in Mahabharata form the basic principle for this great philosophy. It is understood that this philosophy evolved on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is the sacred place of pilgrimage from the immemorial time of the Vedic age. It was spoken by the Lord when he was present personally on this planet for the guidance of mankind. The word Dharmashetra, a place where religious rituals are performed, is significant because on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present on the side of Arjuna. Dhritarashtra, the father of the Kurus, was highly doubtful about the possibility of his son's ultimate victory. In his doubt, he inquired from his secretary Sanjaya, what did they do? He was confident that both his sons and the sons of his younger brother Pandu were assembled in that field of Kurukshetra for a determined engagement of the war. Still, his inquiry is significant. He did not want compromise between the cousins and brothers, and he wanted to be sure of the fate of his sons on the battlefield, because the battlefield was arranged to be fought at Kurukshetra, which is mentioned elsewhere in the Vedas as a place of worship, even for the denizens of heaven. Dhritarashtra became very fearful about the influence of the holy place on the outcome of the battle. He knew very well that this would influence Arjuna and the sons of Pandu favorably because by nature they were all virtuous. Sanjaya was a student of Vyasa, and therefore by mercy of Vyasa, Sanjaya was able to envision the battlefield of Kurukshetra even while he was in the room of Dhritarashtra, and so Dhritarashtra asked him about the situation in the battlefield. Both the Pandavas and the sons of Dhritarashtra belong to the same family, but Dhritarashtra's mind is disclosed herein. He deliberately claimed only his sons as Kurus, and he separated the sons of Pandu from the family heritage. One can thus understand the specific position of Dhritarashtra in his relationship with his nephews, the sons of Pandu. As in the paddy field, the unnecessary plants are taken out, so it is expected from the very beginning of these topics that in the religious field of Kurukshetra, where the father of religion Sri Krishna was present, the unwanted plants like Dhritarashtra's son Duryodhana and others would be wiped out, and thoroughly religious persons headed by Yudhishthira would be established by the Lord. This is the significance of the words the Dharmakshetra and Kurukshetra apart from their historical and Vedic importance. Text 2. Sanjaya Uvacha Dhritarashtra Drishta tu Pandavanikam Vyudhyam Durjadhanastada Acharjam Upasangama Raja Vakanam Abravit. Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also bereft of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion, and he was sure they could never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who were all pious since birth. Since he was doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage, and Sanjaya could understand his motive in asking about the situation in the battlefield, Sanjaya wanted therefore to encourage the despondent king, and thus assured him that his sons were not going to make any sort of compromise under the influence of the holy place. Sanjaya therefore informed the king that his son Duryodhana, after seeing the military force of the Pandavas, at once went to the commander-in-chief Dronacharya to inform him of the real position. Although Duryodhana is mentioned as the king, he still had to go to the commander on account of the seriousness of the situation. He was therefore fit to be a politician, but Duryodhana's diplomatic veneer could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military arrangement of the Pandavas. Text 3. Pasaitam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Kamum Vyudhyam Drupada Putrena Tavasisena Dhimata. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. Duryodhana, a great diplomat, wanted to point out the defects of Dronacharya, the great Brahmana commander-in-chief. Dronacharya had some political quarrel with King Drupada, the father of the Draupadi, who was Arjuna's wife. As a result of this quarrel, Drupada performed a great sacrifice, but by which he received the benediction of having a son who would be able to kill Dronacharya. Dronacharya knew this perfectly well, and yet, as a liberal Brahmana, he did not hesitate to impart all his military secrets when the sons of Pandu Drishtadumna was entrusted to him for military education. Now on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Drishtadumna took the side of Pandavas, and it was he who arranged for the military phalanx. After having learned the art from Dronacharya, Duryodhana pointed out his mistake of Dronacharya so that he might be alert and uncompromising in the fighting. But by this he wanted to point out also that he should not be similarly lenient in battle against the Pandavas, who were also Dronacharya's affectionate students. Duryodhana also warned that such leniency in the fight would lead to defeat. Text 4. Atra Sura Maheswasad Bhimarjuna Samajudi Jujudhano Virataska, Drupadaska, Maharata. Here in this army are many heroic bowmen equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna, great fighters like Duryodhana, Virata and Drupada. Even though Drishtadyumna was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya's very great power in the military art, there are many others who were causes of fear. They are mentioned by Duryodhana as a great stumbling block on the path of victory because each and every one of them was as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. He knew the strength of Bhima and Arjuna and thus he compared the others with them. Text 5. Drishtaketus Chekitana Kashirajaska Vijavana Purujita Kunti Bhojaska Saibaska Narapungava. There are also great heroic powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kashi Raja, Purujita, Kunti Bhoja and Saiba. Text 6. Judha Manuska Vikranta Uttam Maujaska Vijavana Saubhadra Draupadeyaska Sarva Eva Maharata. There were mighty Judhamanu, the very powerful Uttamauja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. Text 7. Asmakam tu visista te tan nibodha vijottama nayaka mama sainyasya samyartham tan brabimite. But for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force.